Well, it's been a busy couple of days. Not in here, though. No, I've been away. Coronation weekend, went away to Birmingham. I did manage to get both tailgates to fit. There's no catches on the top tailgate, but I've got it so it lines up into the space that's available. I'm happy with that. And with the bottom tailgate closed, it's holding the goalposts where I want them to be. So next process now is to weld the goalpost to the cross member, which is relatively straightforward because I've got this nice big flap down here, which I'm going to weld on nicely on both sides. Yes. Right, now, another thing that people have been asking me is how I fix these things. And those things are almost exactly the same as these things, because that's often what happens. That's a particularly bad example, because it's on my car. But yes. Right. Now, what I do here, where are they? Ah, there they are. It's fairly easy to remove the remains of the old part by identifying where the spot welds are downhill and drilling them out. Okay, so you can do that. That's not difficult. Then what I've got is a bloody great big lump of steel, which is a 16 or maybe even a 14 gauge, which I've created as a template. Now these things are the same for each side, but there is a swaged or recessed line down each one. So that is my template. I then roughly cut a piece of steel, 18 gauge, 1.2 mil, into the right sort of shape. You can see I've done that. Then it's simply a case of clank, clank on James's chair here. Look at that. Line that up in there. Mark around the edge there where I want the swage to be, and then use my rolling swage as, making a lot of noise, Richard, to create that profile. This is obviously a used item. Now, the reason I've kept these used items is I kind of want to send these off and see if I can get a whole load laser cut. And that will make my life just a little bit easier, won't it? The piece that just fell on the floor, oh, that's supposed to go on the wing side. So this piece goes on the wing side of where it bolts on. So you've got the rear quarter, then you've got the join for the wing. This goes on the wing side, really just, I guess, to stop, to reinforce the Burma bright lip where it goes through this panel. I think even this will have it. So it goes basically on this side here. So it goes that way round. Okay, right, so then the other thing I did yesterday, because I did wander into the workshop yesterday, was I marked out the location for the holes that I want on the seat bracket, which has disappeared. It's in here somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it before I do. There it is, down there. So that needs to sit in roughly about there. I've marked a line where it needs to go to. And once I've got that kind of where it needs to be, then I can weld that in. So obviously I shall mark the holes with the red pen, get all of this really heavy duty paint off, probably use a belt sander for that, and I can weld that in. And then we're a step closer to getting this side finished as well. You can see I've got that one all welded in over there. Yeah, I think moving forwards, I say it a lot, I know, folks. Now, one thing I did notice over here, since I have welded all this side up, this door needs a shim adding in behind here, one single shim or a shim taking out of the top one, because it's just a little bit too low when it goes onto the striker. I'm happy with it once it's closed and the alignment is good, but it could be better. We'll see. And then I was working really on getting these rubbers and everything sorted out. making sure we can get them into the right sort of location, get them to a point where they're going to work. Right, so I've set me roller up. It's a fabrication kit. What is it? I bought this years ago. Unpacking bead roller kit. There you go, bead roller kit. Fairly standard bit of kit. Came with a whole load of rollers as well. Quite neat. Different rollers doing different things, and cutters. So what I've basically done here is I've put the thinnest kind of like swaging rollers on there. That was not done up, so I need to do that up. There's a flat on here, and I've not done the Allen bolt up because I wanted to set angle that this thing's going to operate at. Right, let's just see if we can get that in there and tight. That'll do the job. That was loose as well. Right, we'll slacken off that because that's the gap between top and bottom rollers. Bum, bum. That's good. Right, now what I need now is a bit of scrap steel. There's a scrap bit of steel, and run it between the rollers. So let me slacken that off a little bit. This on the back here needs to slacken off. A pair of pliers there, that'll do the job. This needs to slacken off. What I basically want to do is to move the top roller away from the bottom roller very slightly. Otherwise, let's get that to go in there again. Right, so that's doing nothing at the moment, so it needs to go further down than that. That's better. So what we're basically getting now is a fairly shallow step on there. I could probably do this with a joddler, but I don't need to. Right, so let's put that in there, tighten the bolt up on the back. There we go. And then put that right the way across there. Nice step. Now, having done that, I have marked on here where I want this step to be. So I need that line there to be on there. I don't know what I just stepped on. And that goes around there and up there. Now I've put that step on there, that should fit quite neatly into my panel. What you then end up with is something a bit like that, which is pretty much as, it probably could be a bit tidier, but it's not bad. I think once I've got a bit of weld on it and it's painted. And we've welded the lower part of the goalpost onto the lower cross member. The only bit now I've not really welded on this is the fuel filler and the closing panel down here. Welded that in today. Get that needs a paint, and really, yeah, been around, welded in the floor. It's all looking okay. It will do the job, and then just yeah, I think Right, the only thing I haven't done today is sort out these rear light clusters, which I've done the folding on, as I've shown you already. Got those looking really nice and tidy so that they line up. They need to be welded onto those pieces. What I will do is I'll just give the inside a quick coat of zinc primer, so where it welds on to the back of this face here, you can see I've de-rusted it. It just wants a quick waft of zinc primer, as does the piece itself, and then I can plug weld those on tomorrow, fit them onto the wings, trial fit the wings, make sure everything I'm really happy with, weld that in, and I can start fucking around with the glass. I reckon. Be nice, wouldn't it? Be nice to get the seats back in this and out of there so I can actually do some work on this. Welded in the fuel filler recess. So this is a part that Stuart at Machinor makes up. He also does the boot floors as well, which I've got to go on. I've welded the edges onto the rear light clusters and then started messing around really with the extension on the wheel arch, which is just down here. So popped that chappy in. The reason for that is because I want to make this closing panel up here. So I wanted to find out roughly where it was going to go to. Yeah, boot floor over there, which the customers bought. This comes from Stuart at Machinor as well. Nice, eh? Yeah, it's been a fun day, really. Just going round, getting this thing how I want it, welding that in, sorting out these rear light clusters. So the reason I've had this out is because I wanted to just tidy up this edge here so I could put some etch primer on there, and then bolt the rear light surround up to it. Now, where is the rear light? There it is. Good day. So that's that piece then welded in and just flatted back. Zinc primed first of all, welded in. Didn't do the paint a lot of good, did it? I shall put a splash of primer over that so there's no bare steel on it. Paint the inside of it, hammered one of the dents out, fit that up. Start getting this car together. Get this rear rubber in as well. Now that I've got most of the welding done on this side, really having done that down there, I'm pleased. Need to do that, need to weld the sill together in the driver's footwell. And we are really leaping forwards, bounding forwards, galumphing forwards, leaps and bounds. Be nice to get all my crap out the back of this car, really, wouldn't it? This tailgate's not going to stay on here, by the way. I've just put it on there to get it out of the way, and also prove that the damn thing fitted. Getting everything ready now for the next batch of painting. So stripped all of the underseal off this one because it was loose. Underseal on that one is good. So I've taken it off where it was loose, put the rust treatment over the top of it. This is the ep24 from Rustbuster. I've treated the inside of that with, I'll paint it with an epoxy chassis paint on the inside, and then seam seal it, and then fit them to the wings. As far as the wings are concerned, these will need paint. So in both cases, what I've already done, preserving the patina on the outside, is taken all of the loose paint off on the faces, which are going to be mating against, no, I messed that up, mating against the steel elements, and I'll make sure all of these are painted with a nice thick 2-pack epoxy paint. You'll notice also that I've done the leading edge of the fuel filler hole, which takes me very neatly onto the fuel filler. Now, you've seen all that these things come out fairly easily, not really a hugely difficult issue. On this one, there was a whole extra band, this gloopy mess here, which was stuck over this joint here. Now, I will double check it. I don't think that was the leak. I think the leak was from up here with this bit of hose pipe. Now, allow me to demonstrate hose pipe and petrol systems. Need I say more? Yeah, they're not compatible, folks. Don't do that. So all I'm really going to do now, I'm going to take the pipe off here. Just bang that off there. I'm taking the clip off. When you're taking these clips off, by the way, you're never going to get them undone. So the best thing to do is cut alongside where the knurled nut is. Bend it upwards and then pull the clip apart. As you can see, that would have been rusted solid. There's no way would I have got that undone. So yeah, understand where your enemy is, and you know, win the battles you need to. What I will do is I'll move the flammable liquid out of the way, because that was for panel wipe before. So I panel wiped everything before I put the rust treatment on. And so I'm going to take all this underseal crap off here, see what's going on underneath it, find out why that gloop was on there. If there's a leak, I can fix it. If there is, there is a leak. Look, I can see it. Look at that. There we are. There's the leak. So we might need to find a better fuel pipe than this one, or weld a repair to that one. While it's off the tank, I can weld a repair to it. I think when the zip wheel goes over it, that will fix that. Or it will find more. But yes, that looks like it's moisture's been trapped in there. It's gone there as well. Okay, I'll go over it with the zip wheel first and foremost. Then I'll probably need to make some welded repairs to the fuel pipe, the fuel filler pipe. Obviously it's off the car, there's no smell of fuel near it. I'm going to be welding in the open air. Don't think that this is me welding a petrol tank full of petrol, although paradoxically that's probably the safest way you could weld a petrol tank. It's the vapour that catches fire, I believe, and not the liquid. Right, okay, now I'm going to get that thing off really just by knocking it off with a hammer. Let's go and find Mr. Tappy. Mr. Tappy, where are you? You see, I've not had a tidy up. I've put some tools away, just not me. That's my rubbish box down there before anyone panics. That'll do. Actually, that'll be better. I'll stand you up here. You might see, you might not. Right, so if I were to just tap from the top, working on side to the other, it comes off. These are available brand spanking new. I think unless the rubber's gone hard for now, then I really wouldn't worry too much about replacing them. However, that said, I don't know how these react with the ethanol in the petrol, but here now you can clearly see that hole there, hopefully. Right, so I'm going to go over this thing now, zip wheel it up. Ear protection, hand protection, face protection. You don't need to watch all that shit. And then I'm going to undo the 4 fixings for the toilet seat lid. Take the toilet seat lid off. Which don't fucking work. Yes, it does. It does hold down. And then clean up this around here. And the idea is I'll want to really paint this. It looks like it's been painted a couple of times before. I can see where there's paint gone over the top of paint down here. Not unusual, as Tom Jones would say. The joy of painting this stuff. This is the Rust Buster Epoxy 121. Epoxy mastic, so the part number on this black stuff is EM121. Mix 1 part to 1 part, can be rollered, brushed or sprayed with a suitable thinner. And it's supposed to come out with a completely matte finish, I think. I find it doesn't matter. I don't bother. So really the key objective here is to paint all of the areas that are going to be hidden once I put these outer panels on. So you can see the wheel arch extensions down here, the inner wings, the fuel filler, base of the goalpost, all of the faces that will be hidden, including the inside edges of the rear corners, the inside of the fuel filler, etc., all been painted. And it stinks in here. So that's more or less now ready for me to assemble. At the next point, start getting things like, well, I mean, once I got the wings on, the windows can go in, etc, etc. We're on the phase of the project which I actually quite enjoy now, and I hope you enjoy watching this sort of shit. But basically the car is just really going back together, so we've gone past the point of getting this car better. So having eradicated the last of the rot really around the rear goalpost, we're now in the assembly phase, so hopefully no more nasty surprises. I can't imagine there will be. I've got a new floor to go in as well. So once the floor comes out, then I can treat the rest of the underside of the the floor as it goes along the top of the chassis rails and so forth. Yeah, I'm quite buoyed with the activity today. It is good. The only thing that's been a slight issue for me is I was looking at the bog seat. Love this bog seat fuel filler. And the problem I got with the bog seat fuel filler is the spring that's supposed to hold the catch is broken. So I need to find some way of fixing this, or find a better bog seat for the customer, because the problem is the button doesn't stay down. It should basically spring back into that position, so when you close it, it locks like that. The problem is that the lightest touch of the button and it flies open. You see, that was my little USB cable then, so I need to find a better way of securing the spring on the inside of this catch, which means taking this thing apart. Because obviously we don't want it such that the fuel flap is flying open while you're driving down a road. No, 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 no. And I haven't tidied my bench up yet. Sorry, Mr. Bertie Wooster. Yeah. Look. Look, I did find all my... Look, you're like that. I've been through all my vernier calipers and micrometers and everything. Cleaned them all up, serviced them. Calibrated them and put them in a nice yellow box. Look at that, and it's clean. However, it's still on the floor. It needs to go in the container. Right, I'm sorting out these are the slidey channels, and there's quite a common problem with these, in that the studs snap off the bottom of them. But I thought I'd show you how I fix those. So I'll come up to my workbench. First and foremost, I've fixed the hole in the fuel filler, which I'll test a bit later on. Basically, once I started on it with the belt sander, the steel got actually quite thin all the way around the hole, and I think that's largely because it had a bandage wrapped around it and held on with Jubilee clips, and I think because of that then it really weakened the steel. Test that out later on. I'm pretty sure that that is now sorted. So what I've basically done is I've salvaged some old 5/16 UNF machine screws, filed the head off, put a hulking great magnet on the underside of the channel. There is enough, as you can see the magnet's holding in place, there is enough steel content, oh Mr. Gravity, steel content in the product in order for it to hold through and hold the thread in there. And then literally I'm just welding couple of sides around there, which I'll do now. The stud that I've got on here, you can grind them off. Sometimes they break off. I would prefer to grind them off, purely because if you snap them off, you tear right the way through to the other side. And that happened on this one. What you end up with is blobs of weld coming through, but a bit of wax over the top of that, and that's going to be okay. I did fill the holes back up, and you can see once it's welded into place, the welder doesn't really like it because there's too much pollutant around the steel, so the welds are messy, but once you've been over it with a belt sander, they come up quite nice. You see, that one wasn't too much of a problem. Welded that on there, and then obviously this is from the other side, but obviously once it all goes into place, you line up on the holes on the rubber, drill the holes through, and we can put the stainless trims in, which is my target for the day, really. That makes sense. I hope it does. But really, just by grinding that down, I should be able to... Oops, that's moved, isn't it? I should be able to just grind that flat, and then another one of these, magnet on the other side, hold it in place, and weld it. And we end up with studs back on. Now, originally, Just wipe my eye because I've got an itchy eye for some reason, I don't know. Now, originally, if you look really closely at these, you can see that they're almost like they were, that was probably the best example to look at there. You can see that they've probably been arc welded on, like you might arc weld a puller onto a steel panel. So this would have been connected up to the welder, this would have been earthed, and it would have been connected, and then the current turned on, and it would have fused on. Because when you look through, it is like a very, very weak spot weld. And obviously the reason why they break off is because the threads get knackered, and then when the threads get knackered, you twist the stud rather than actually undoing it. So all of this lot's going to get wax on it before it goes back on. I'll make sure all the threads are good anyway, but that way then we can get this channel back in place on the car, and rather hope that it will hold. But all of the standard threads on this are 3/16 UNF. That's what these nuts are. Well, I'm going to crack on with that, and yeah, hopefully it'll not rain while I'm trying to do that. And then the only other stuff I've really been doing, I've been going over all of the aluminium panels and putting zinc primer on the shut faces. It's an etch zinc rich primer which I've put onto all of the inside faces, and then once that's gone off by tomorrow, then I'll put a green top coat, 2-pack top coat over the top of that, ready just to seal it all in, and then that should be okay against this face. And again, just waxing along there rather than gluing it all in with silicone, I think might work. Time for a quick update, folks. What I've basically done here is drilled the holes down for the stainless channels. I've cleaned up the base of the stainless channel, given it a good zinc primer. I should put some wax on it before I assemble. Then I have primed and painted the channels, so they're all ready to kind of go back together again. So once that's all dried off, then I can put the rubber in, put the top part in, put the fixed glass in. I can't put the slidey in because I haven't got the felt channel that goes in there. I've ordered them. But I can put the back wings on after I've done that, of course. So while I've been waiting for paint and stuff to dry, I've been working on the ghost train. See separate video.